Okay, thanks, Greg. It's almost March, and by now many people have already given up on their 2025 goals and returned to their old habits. Well, it's a great time to get back on track. So Neora president and co-founder Olson coaches entrepreneurs on goal setting, and today she's here to explain what priority planning is and how you can use it to meet your goals. Good morning.
Good morning.
I love priority planning because especially I think for women,
Yes.
I mean, we have lists of things that we're trying to get done.
Always.
You know what I mean? Okay, before we talk about that, you posted something recently to remember to give yourself grace. Can you talk about the importance of that when it comes to planning and achieving goals?
Yeah, it's so important. So they show scientifically that if you beat yourself up when you get off track, you're less likely to get back on track. So giving yourself that grace and just focusing on the next positive step that you can take allows you to get back in the game.
So what do you see as with people you work with? What's the most common reason people get off track?
So what I see, especially the new year, everyone makes all of these big goals, but the step people miss is really determining what are the daily habits that they need to implement to make progress towards that goals. And so 60 days in, 30 days in, they're not where they think they should be, so they give up. But if we can redefine success as just simply creating the habit, then you start creating momentum towards that goal and you're much more likely to stick with it longer.
Is that sort of like, you hear, if you do something 21 times or something like that,
you
it
can
will
set
become
a habit in 90 days, yes.
So take it in little chunks of changing behavior to get the result you want.
Exactly, and a lot of people just look straight for that result.
Okay, so setting multiple goals can be overwhelming. A lot of people do that. How do you avoid adding so much pressure? Because, like for New Year's, you might have had 3 or 4 different goals.
Yes. And this is another common pitfall where priority planning comes in, is because if all of a sudden we're trying to be a 10 out of 10 in every category, we get overwhelmed and setting ourselves up for a setback. So instead, I really encourage people to set all the goals, but then rank them in priority order. So you should have just one top priority goal and start there. So you're developing the habits for that first goal, and then you're going to start getting success towards that, and then you can add in that second goal. But trying to overhaul your life all at once just sets you up for overwhelm.
Okay, so you've brought for us 4 steps to priority planning, and you say the first one is reflect. Well, reflect doesn't seem like it's going to get you too far.
Right. Well, a lot of times it's great to think back before we plan in the future. And so I do a super simple exercise called keep, leave, add. So you think of every area in your life, finances, health, the things that you did the poll, and you think, what are the things that I want to make sure I keep doing habit-wise in this area because it's serving me well? What do I want to leave behind because it's not serving me well? And what is the one thing that if I added that habit, it would take me where I want to go in this area of my life?
Okay, I love that. That's simple and easy to follow. That's what we're looking for. The second one, plan. Okay, that seems obvious.
Yes, so when you're creating your plan, you want to make sure that it's very specific. So this is another pitfall where I see people say something like, I want to be a more present parent. But then how are you going to judge if you've done that or not? So you want to make it very specific and take that general concept, and that example could be, I want to do a one-on-one date with each of my kids each quarter. And then you can really check, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't. And then once you have those specific goals, that's where you rank them in order so you have a clear starting place to your most important goal to start working on first.
Okay, the third one you mentioned, you talked about habits earlier. You say establish the habit. How do you go about doing that?
So you look at the goal and you think, what are the top habits that I would need to create to be able to achieve this goal? And then you start really tracking that. So each day you're saying, did I or did I not do the habit? And so at first you're probably not going to be great at the habit, but that's not where we're judging. We're just trying to create that consistency. And when you do something long enough, consistently enough, you will get to the results.
Okay, let me give you an example of something I do that I think, I think I'm meeting your recommendations. So one of my goals is to have more gratitude, but instead of just saying, well, have more gratitude, every morning I start out when I journal, and that sets that in my mind, and I do it every single day. I might miss a day or two here and there. But it sets gratitude as going forward in the day.
That's a perfect example.
That's a practical habit that helps you achieve your goal.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Priority planning, that's a habit in itself. People do get off track. What should they do when they fall off?
So I think the best thing to do is to think about what took you off course practically, right? So you might have a habit of you're trying to read 10 minutes of a book. That's going to help you with the skill set, but you're not doing it. So you have to think beyond that to why. Is it because you don't have the time? Well, maybe you set a time block in your calendar. Or maybe you're just overwhelmed when you sit down because you haven't picked out the actual book. So if we think about what took us off course, we can plan around it. And then when we're starting setting ourselves up for success.
Okay, and the last thing we saw on that list was something called celebrate.
Yes.
So we want to end with celebrate. How do you say, when you say celebrate, what do you mean?
Any way that works for you. The point is to celebrate progress. Sometimes people want to leave the celebration until the end, but find ways to celebrate. You can write your wins of the day, journaling at the end of the day. You can set a midpoint milestone where you're going to celebrate when you get there. But if we celebrate progress and not just the final goal, we're much more likely to actually get to the final goal.
Okay, I've been seeing you a lot on social lately. So where do people find you? You have really good stuff. Where do they find you?
Thank you. Yes, so I am Free to Be More is my Instagram and TikTok. And then also on freetobemore.com, I've actually created a free guide for everyone that really walks through each of these steps in the priority planning process.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll be
you.
following you on social.